Okay, we are live. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope everyone's had a very good Thursday. Let's get into the show. So, I guess we're going to kick off with the big story coming out tonight. So, we are reacting to what Erik Ten Hag has been saying in his press conference today, and he's giving hints away at a potential big triple exit for Manchester United. Three players who have played quite a lot of matches this season. Some of them are on a lot of money as well, so this could be quite an important set of departures coming up for the club. And the three players we're talking about is Raphael Varane, Johnny Evans, and of course, Christian Eriksen. So let's get starting on what Ten Hag had said. When asked in his press conference today about the contractual statements and position of Johnny Evans and Rafa Varane, he had said, "We have not discussed that yet. Nothing has been decided and nothing has been signed off on." Now, is there, of course, potential for wiggle room there? Is there potential for United to come out with a deal for these players? Yeah, there is. But I think we have to look at recent track records. And I think you look back 12 months ago, David De Gea was in the same position. And we were told for months upon months that David De Gea, no decision had been made, that he might be offered a contract, and ultimately he ended up leaving for nothing. So that, to me, would be the kind of trajectory we find ourselves on once again with Raphael Varane, with Johnny Evans. Now, Christian Eriksen is a little bit different. Now, I say Eriksen's different because he is still under contract. I believe he's got 18 months left on his current deal, so that would take him up until the end of next season. But there is big talk at the moment about a potential move to Galatasaray. Now, nothing has gone through in this window, but Galatasaray, they're seemingly not going away anywhere. They're not leaving this potential deal, and they might come back in for Christian Eriksen pretty soon. And I think this is another deal you could see. I think we're going to take a business look at it and say, what, 150, 160,000 pounds for a 32-year-old midfielder very soon. I think he's 31 at the moment, but he will be 32 pretty soon. Who's going to be third, fourth choice, maybe? Is that going to be feasible for what we want to do either? I'm not too sure. I've got Jarl in the comments on the blue cards. UEFA have said no in their games. And I'm talking about the Woodward interview. Yes, we will touch on that as well. Jason Riley in the comments. Thank you very much for tuning in, Jason. But yeah, certainly three potential big exits, and I think it's an interesting one, and it's going to be something to keep an eye out on. Now, look, we know a lot of changes coming with players coming, players going. We know this is coming, so I don't think it's coming to a surprise to anybody that we're seeing these kinds of players listed. But these are players who've played a lot for us this season. These are players who have been involved throughout most of Erik Ten Hag's tenure. I'm sure between all the matches this season, you probably have about 80% of them with either Varane, Evans, or Christian Eriksen in the team, or at least in the squad. So these are first team players, and they are potentially going, and it's going to be an interesting one to sit and watch this situation develop. I do have the exact quote from Ten Hag as well on this one. Let me see if I can quickly pull that up as well for you. Erik Ten Hag on Raphael Varane and Johnny Evans' future at Manchester United. We haven't made any decision yet. No offers, no talks. That is the position we find ourselves in at this moment in time with Evans, with Rafa Varane. Obviously, look, Eriksen's a different story altogether, but I guess when we're talking about different stories, we'll talk about what Jarl had also mentioned in the comments down there, and that is an Ed Woodward interview. And Ed Woodward has come out of this interview looking even worse than what he did when he was Manchester United CEO, when he was the chief policy setter at Manchester United. And some of the things Woodward has come out with are kind of unbelievable as well. They really are. So Woodward reveals why United failed to sign Erling Haaland, Jude Bellingham, two players who would make quite the difference in our current team, I'm sure. And look, they're not the only players we missed out on during that time period. But in a recent discussion with ESPN, Ed Woodward, former, what was his actual title? He was executive vice chairman, so basically CEO. Basically, he was the head honcho. We all know who Ed Woodward was. We know this already. Throughout his 9 years leading the recruitment strategy at Old Trafford, Woodward faced substantial criticism for investment decisions, which often saw significant sums paid for players who did not live up to the high expectations. Despite the challenges, recruitment saw notable improvements under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and it was rightly believed United were in a prime position to sign Haaland from RB Salzburg, especially since Solskjaer had been instrumental in giving Haaland his professional start at Mold. However, the move to Dortmund occurred despite a £20 million release clause in his contract, and he later joined Manchester City, scoring 71 goals in 77 appearances so far. Woodward remarked Haaland was always destined for City, and had hinted at some of the ties of the Haaland family to the Manchester City Football Club. I'm kind of thinking we could have got in there a lot earlier. If we got him going from Salzburg, yeah, absolutely. We could have done that. United's efforts to attract Jude Bellingham also fell short, despite the personal attention from Solskjaer, Sir Alex Ferguson, and Brian Robson during his visit to Manchester United's training facility. Bellingham opted to play for Dortmund due to the promise of more consistent playtime. Bellingham's career trajectory has mirrored Haaland's, with a big transfer to Real Madrid for £100 million. Woodward's reflections shed light on the complex dynamics of football transfers, and highlighted United faced a lot of challenges in their efforts to secure top talent. And yeah, look, I mean, Woodward was bad for this club in a lot of different ways. And I think when we look at the kind of caliber of player we could have had and we should have had over the years, Erling Haaland, Jude Bellingham are the kind of elite level young up and coming players who we should have been signing, who we had to be buying, who we had to be going for. And ultimately, we never got either of them. And it's more than just them we missed out on. This was a long running thing for many, many years at Manchester United. The bad transfer policy and Ed Woodward's involvement in the wasting and the splurging of hundreds of millions of pounds on flop after flop does have to be called out still. And look, he is gone. He has been gone for a while. He was replaced by Richard Arnold, and Richard Arnold is gone now. But these are the kind of struggles that the Ineos group are going to have to try to overcome at some point in time. These are the kind of struggles that we want to move away from, so we can have a more sustainable future, so we can have a more sustainable approach to the transfer market. Are we going to be able to do it? I'm not too sure how long this is going to take. I think it will take longer than a season. I think it takes longer than a month. It takes longer than a year. This is going to be a long process, but certainly, look, that Woodward article and that Woodward interview really does shed a light into some of the incompetence we've had at the top level of this football club. And when the guys at the very top are incompetent, how are you meant to have an accountable system with everybody pulling their weight, doing what they're supposed to be doing, whenever we have CEOs running off signing Cristiano Ronaldo, not telling the manager that he's buying these players, whenever you have clearly world-class potential talents in the likes of Haaland and Bellingham getting and being lost right from our clutches when we should be signing these types of players. You know, that's kind of like a long-running thing, and that's going to take a while to get away from. But speaking of things that are long running, we have a big press conference from Erik Ten Hag as well. Woodward simply cost Ollie the job. He got him Ronaldo without even talking to Ollie. Yeah, he did. He absolutely did, Jarl. But yes, look, we've got quite the press conference from Erik Ten Hag to jump right into as well today. Some interesting quotes. Obviously, look, we've looked at the Eriksen and we've looked at Varane and Johnny Evans. We've looked at that story already from today's press conference, but there was a lot more that he did go into in some detail. So I guess we'll start off with Lisandro Martinez. So Erik Ten Hag, on Lisandro Martinez and the injury he has sustained, says it's a setback, of course. Lecho was returning. You see his contribution to the team when he's playing. Apart from his technical skills, you also see the mentality. It's a big setback for him. He is very disappointed, but he is a fighter. He will be back stronger than ever and will play by the end of the season. As a squad, we have to be able to replace him, and we do have players who will be able to play there and do their part. Now, look, Lisandro Martinez is a big injury, obviously, for Manchester United. This is a guy so integral in how we play football. And I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say Lisandro Martinez is one of the very best ball-playing centre-backs in world football. And the way that he plays with the ball is even more rare. He plays a very unique style, and he's such a hard player to actually go out there and try to replace internally or even externally. You might not get someone who gives you exactly what Martinez does. But we have to look at profiles. We have to look at what we have in the squad. And the centre back options, they're not the best. And I've been calling this out all season long. Look, I think Varane is a good defender. I do. Does he have limitations in his game? Yes. Will he be injured some point within the next 6 to 8 weeks before the international break? 100% he will. Harry Maguire coming back from an injury, it depends on how he's managed to recover from that, but that's going to be a big miss as well. We've got Johnny Evans making his way back and Victor Lindelof making his way back, and we have young Willie Camboala in there as well. And those are the kind of options we have to try get Lisandro Martinez level qualities out of whenever they're not at that level in the first place. It's a very difficult job to do. It's a very hard player to replace. And I think we'll see a drop off in terms of what we were doing playing out of the back. But to go back to what Erik has been saying today anyway, he has talked about some of the other injury concerns we do have at this moment in time. Erik Ten Hag on returning players. Wan-Bissaka was training today and then dropped out, so I'm not sure at the moment where he will be. The diagnosis hopefully will not be too bad. Mason Mount and Tyrell Malacia are not yet ready. Those were obviously very serious injuries. They've been out for a very long time, the pair of them. I think Malacia has been out since July. So he's almost been out for a year at this point, which isn't good. But the injuries are definitely still a concern. I don't think it's any miracle, or I don't think it's any kind of really surprise that the best matches we played this season in terms of scoring goals, getting results, controlling matches have come when our first 11 has been available. And look, it's going to be a challenge for us to get through the next couple of weeks. I've said several times we got a lot of big matches coming up. We play, of course, at the weekend, Aston Villa away. We will build up to that match later on in the show. We play Luton Town away. We have Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup. We play Man City, we play Brentford, we play Liverpool, Chelsea and Newcastle and Bournemouth, all within the next 7 or 8 matches. So it's a really difficult run-in and a really difficult part of the season that we're potentially missing Lisandro Martinez on. We have to try to keep the rest of the squad as available as possible, and that's going to have to take some kind of genuine top-level management from Erik Ten Hag, and we haven't really seen Ten Hag's rotations paying a lot of dividends across this season or even last season. We know he doesn't like to rotate. We know he can't afford another centre back injury. He can't afford for another midfield injury. We definitely can't afford anything to happen to Rasmus Højlund. We've finally got the guy scoring goals now, but we have no backup at all because Anthony Martial will be out for the next 10 weeks. So it's a difficult balancing act we find ourselves in. Big ups to Luman in the comments. Thanks for joining in. Let me have a quick look at what Ten Hag was saying about the stadium. When asked about the stadium reports and the plan put forward by Ineos, Erik Ten Hag had said, if that is his view, a new ground, then I would express the ambition of the club, which is good, but it is not my task to deal with stadium questions and facilities. My job is to manage the team, rebuild the squad, and set the team out to play at whatever facilities we have. So, I mean that's kind of to be expected. I mean, Erik Ten Hag's not going to be sitting laying down bricks if we're building a new stadium. He is not going to be in a crane with a wrecking ball taking down the stadium, although some people might say he may as well took a wrecking ball to the stadium at times this season, but I'll say nothing else with that there one. And Ten Hag on helping the younger players. Now this is an exciting one. I think we've all seen that lovely photo of Manu, Garnacho and Højlund at the weekend. So Ten Hag on helping the younger players. Players need time. Younger players need more time, especially Rasmus and Alejandro. They need time, but they also need the team to step up for them, so those effects were not there in the first half of the season. We have to make a lot of adjustments in how we're playing at the moment. It was difficult to serve the offensive part of the team for the last couple of months, and that can when that happens, it can go really quickly for players to progress. We're seeing this now with Alejandro and with Rasmus. So it's an interesting one. I think what he's trying to say in a roundabout way is once we got the better players back, the younger players didn't have the pressure of having to be the ones creating and scoring and running the game. So I guess that, I mean, I guess that's true, but look, we're gonna have to find out in this one anyway. But Ten Hag was saying as well on some younger players, He was confident that they have the potential to do what they're doing now. It's about keeping them moving and keeping them hungry and getting them consistent. Again, it's all just kind of common sense, to be honest. I've got 10 likes in the video anyway, guys. Thanks very much for that. Look, I guess we'll take a little break from Ten Hag's press conference to talk about blue cards, shall we? So blue cards are something that's being talked about a lot today, and this is coming out that the FA will be trialing this in a lot of matches to see how it goes. Blue cards will basically be a sin bin. If you get 2 blue cards in a match, you're sent off. If you get a yellow card and a blue card, you're sent off. It does feel like a needless complication of the game. I know it works well in rugby. I know it works in, obviously, ice hockey as well with sin bins. But just because it works in other games and it's good there doesn't mean it's directly transferable into the game of football. I think tactical fouls have always been a thing in the game. I think you run the risk of eliminating that side of the game, and then you all of a sudden are having referees sending people to the sin bin every couple of minutes in the game because it's so common. Like, what is going to determine what is sin bin worthy? What is going to determine that factor? Because you see fouls all over the pitch on football. Players holding each other back, players tripping each other up. It's part of the game. So is this really something we want to say? I'm pretty against the idea myself. But look, I'll ask you guys on the poll down below. Are you guys for it? Are you against it? Let me know your thoughts on that one, because it's something that's probably not going to go away. I think the adaptation of new rules and technologies into the game hasn't really gone particularly smoothly. I think you look at VAR as the obvious example, but I'm not too sure where I stand on that one. But let me know your thoughts down below. It does look like UEFA are pretty against the idea at the moment. And once you guys do that, I'll hop back on to this press conference, because there was some other things he wanted to touch on. Ten Hag was speaking about the potential of Luke Shaw filling in as centre back. We have options to deal with that position. We have good centre halves in the squad, and there are others available. Luke can play there. We are quite confident we can keep the process going so that the others can fulfill the position and contribute to playing in high levels. Those players are experienced, and it is an advantage that we have seen with a left-footed centre-back. But again, we don't really have left-footed centre-backs outside of Lisandro Martinez. I don't know what Ten Hag's talking about here. Unless we're going to play Luke Shaw there, but then you're moving your best left back to centre back and you're pulling the whole team all over the place. It's something we've seen before. I'd be kind of keen to avoid it. Jarl has speaking about the blue card. Getting a blue card because you argue some of the ref is stupid. Actually, the whole blue card is stupid. It's not needed. I don't think it's needed. I really don't think it's needed. And look, I mean, every referee is going to have different interpretations on what counts as a cynical foul. We can't even agree upon what the handball rule is. So how are we going to have any kind of consensus as to what a cynical foul is, like a trip on the halfway line? Look, so, I mean, some of them are obvious. If you think back to the European Championship final when we had Chiellini pulling Saka by the collar, that was pretty cynical. But then you have instances where players genuinely come together, or you have a genuine butting of heads, or an elbow to the head. Does that count as cynical? You know, it's so hard to reach any kind of common consensus on stuff, and you will see, like you do with VAR at the moment, like you do see with penalty kicks at the moment, you will see instances where you have players and what counts in one match as a cynical foul or a sin bin offence won't count in the next match. And these matches might be days apart. It might be the same day. It might be on at the exact same time. And you'll never get any kind of consensus. And you might have referees changing their mind anyway, depending on what's happening in the match. I do feel like it's going to be something that would benefit the home team more, because if there is a cynical foul on a home player, you will get a bigger reaction from the crowd. That definitely feeds into it. So I don't know. I'm pretty against it. I would agree with you, Jarl. I think it's a pretty nonsensical notion anyway. Just to jump back into this Ten Hag press conference, he's been speaking about the Aston Villa game, and that will be the next topic we move on to. So Ten Hag on the Villa game, if it's a must-win, he said to the team at the start of the January, every game is now a final. That was the approach to West Ham. that was the approach to Newport. This is a final, and we have to take this challenge and see it as a final. That will be every match from now on. Ideally, we don't find ourselves in this position, but if we're going to do anything in this season, be it in the FA Cup, be it in terms of Champions League qualification, or even Europa League even Europa League qualification at this moment in time, we got to go out there and win a lot of matches. Villa are 8 points ahead of us. If we beat them on Sunday, it'll be down to 5 points, but it's still 5 points we have to make up. And that's still quite a bit of making up to do at this point of the season. And Aston Villa are fifth; they're not even in the top four. So we got a lot of catching up to do if we're going to try to do anything like that. We really do. Best hope for Champions League qualification genuinely might be hoping that either Man City or Arsenal, I think, go really deep in the competition and manage to push up the English coefficient qualification position so that fifth place can finish now. But that's about it. Jarl says as well, the team that gets a blue card, everyone behind the ball, park the bus for 10 minutes. If the FA want to ruin football in England, they will add the blue card. UEFA says no. I would agree with that. I mean, I don't want to ruin football like that. I don't want to see too much changes. I think the game is pretty much evolved to the point now, and it's got to the point that it's been at now for quite a while. And a lot of people even think that VAR is a ruining factor on the game as well, and that it's a big issue. I would be inclined to agree at this moment in time as well. Like, I really would. But I mean, overall, it is very, very disappointing. Regardless, there's no getting away with that. So I don't know if we can go and start throwing more rules and more different things into the game when we haven't even got VAR right at this moment in time either. And I don't know. I hope it doesn't happen. I really hope it doesn't happen. But Ten Hag on this Aston Villa team said, firstly, on Unai Emery, I think it's very good how he has developed and progressed his team, how they want to play in and out of possession. The players know what they have to do and cooperate with each other. They're a real team with weapons in their team, and we're going to have to play to the maximum level possible in order to get a result. And yeah, look, I remember back, I think it was Boxing Day, we were playing Aston Villa at Old Trafford. It was a difficult match. We went, we were 2-0 down that match, I think. Obviously, look, we came back and won 3-2, but I mean, Villa have been a very good team under Emery for quite a while now, and they're not going to be any pushover at Villa Park, regardless of how last night's match went against Chelsea or not. They're going to be up for it, and they're going to be looking to bounce back, and we might find ourselves in that position as being caught on a team going out there with a real point to prove in front of their home supporters. For them, it could be a very disappointing week if they manage to lose to United in the league and lose to Chelsea in the cup. That could be a very disappointing week by the standards Villa have set themselves to this season. So it's going to be a hard match to get anything out of. It's going to have to take a good performance and a high level performance in that there one, and hopefully we will be able to go out there and beat Aston Villa. But look, last night they could have went 3-4-5 down to Chelsea. They really could have. Chelsea had a lot of opportunities, scored a lot of good goals. Obviously, Enzo Fernandez getting the headlights, but Villa were poor in that match. Make no mistake about it. Will they be better in the match on Sunday? Absolutely, they will. And I do know the automatic connotations that we come to as fans is that teams must try harder against us, but we're gonna come up against a team that want to bounce back. Hopefully, it'll go one or two ways. Either their confidence will be low and they'll not be feeling it, or they'll really be up for it and they'll go out there and have a great match. I'd be worried either way, because Villa, they should have beat us at Old Trafford. They were 2-0 up at halftime in that match. They were a very, very difficult team to play against across this entire season. A lot of big teams have struggled against Aston Villa, and they're going to go out there on Sunday with a lot of threats. Leon Bailey, Diaby, Ollie Watkins, of course, and they've got ways to hurt us, and we have to be ready and prepared for that. And I think without Lisandro Martinez, we're going to find ourselves in a position where it's going to be hard to do some of the defensive work that we need to do in terms of closing players down, in terms of watching the high line, covering the channels, all that important defensive work that we need to do against teams like Aston Villa. It's going to be very hard with a back four of Varane and Harry Maguire, for instance, at centre back. That's going to be a difficult one. Jarl says Villa were just smashed by Chelsea at home. We can go and do the same. We can. Look, make no mistake about it. We can. And if they're open at the back and if we have opportunities to hit them hard, we absolutely should do. And we're informed to do it. We've won the last couple of matches. We're scoring goals. Højlund's looking really good. Garnacho's getting goals. Manu's keeping up those really high levels in midfield. And look, going by the form, we should be beating Aston Villa at Villa Park. But they're going to be up for this. Like, make no mistake about it. They will. And they'll want to bounce back. They'll be looking at this from the point of view of, okay, we went out with a really disappointing performance against Chelsea. We're out of the FA Cup with nothing else to play for this season except for European qualification. That's their objective for the season now. It's pretty much laid out. So what's going to happen is you might get Aston Villa going out and just looking at it from that point of view, and that's pretty much what they're playing for at this moment. They're not playing for a trophy. They're not playing for anywhere or anything regards to silverware, so they will be going out and fancying themselves. It's going to be an interesting match. It's going to be a difficult match. They're going to pose threats, and it's about how we deal with that on our end and how we score at their end. I think one thing you got to watch out for against this Aston Villa team is the offside trap. They're really good at it. And with Højlund up front, Garnacho and Rashford all can be quite suspect to getting caught offside. They all can be a little bit preemptive in their running and in their run selection. So I think we've got to be prepared for frustration at times in there. Look, they've got a good midfield. John McGinn in there. Well, Tielemans, Boubacar Kamara, Douglas Luiz, that's a good team that they have. So it will be a difficult match. We should win it based on form. We should win it based on what we've done across the last couple of weeks and looking at Villa's form. But it's going to be an interesting one nonetheless. And I'm looking forward to covering it on the channel here anyway. Look, in terms of poll, 58% of you guys are completely against the notion of blue cards in football. We have 17% are saying they will wait and see, and 25% are saying, yeah, they would be for some kind of sin bin system within football. Hopefully it doesn't come about. Hopefully we don't get subjected to that, because I just can't see it being a good thing. I think, arguably the decision making has got worse in football, and it's under a bigger microscope every single week. You're looking at VAR always being in the headlines, so it's about whether we want to see that even more so with the prospect of sin bins as well. Let me just double check something as well, guys. Give me 1 second there. What have I got? There we go. Okay, so I just wanted to run through some of the other stories anyway. Have an interesting report on this Tyrell Malacia injury. So nothing in regards to when his comeback might be, but it is now being noted that as of today, he has been injured for 205 days, has missed 33 matches so far this season. So that's every match, pretty much. It's a mystery. Look, I like Malacia. I think you've got a pretty dogged defender in there. He's nothing exceptional, but I'm not too sure what's going to be happening with him in relation to this comeback. It might not even be this season, genuinely, at this point. Have some other quotes coming through from Erik Ten Hag. Jim Radcliffe's Wembley of the North plans under a new Old Trafford home. He said, if that is Radcliffe's view, then I would express it, and it obviously shows the ambition of the club, which is good. Malacia and Mount will be not fit to be in the squad for this upcoming match. I do have an interesting one I wanted to bring you guys. It's about a good friend of ours anyway, and a man who we've always had a lot to say about. Bourne is down there. I feel like they'll batter us, especially losing after 2 games in a row. I mean, they're going to be up for it. They're going to have to be up for it, but they should have been up for the Chelsea match, and that didn't work out. So what happens, it's going to be kind of hard to tell at this point, but you guys are going to love this one. John Murtagh went to Saudi Arabia during the Club World Cup in what was termed relationship building. Through that, he put things out there into the market. Murtagh realized very quickly that the public perception that the Saudi Arabian clubs overpay is incorrect. Sources said John Murtagh was, quote unquote a bit naive. He returned back without having accomplished anything. So that means, guys, like you can add Barcelona, Turin, now Saudi Arabia for the second time, where John Murda has gone out with the express intention of doing business for Manchester United and come back empty-handed. He's done it twice for Rabiot. He did it twice with Frankie de Jong. Now he's done it twice with Saudi Arabia. This guy's so incompetent. He really, 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 really is. And it does just kind of compound some of the misery that we do have. In other news, Paul Mitchell, linked with United, is not in the frame for the sporting director role at Roma. He would definitely be interested in joining Manchester United. Apparently as well, outgoing Roma sporting director Tiago Pinto is an option for Manchester United's director of football. But it's getting close to decision time of this anyway. Look, Muppeteers were saying the same thing. This ratification from the Premier League for the Ineos ownership is expected to go through very soon. And once that's done, we will see new director of football appointed. That's coming probably within the next week or so. That could be my guess. And it's definitely one that we're going to be keeping an eye out on anyway. They're working hard on the new sporting director appointment, according to Ben Jacobs as well. Omar Barada will have a say on who the sporting director will be as well, and is working with Ineos on this. They had said Ineos will consult with the Manchester United fan base about rebuilding Old Trafford. That obviously was the big story for the last couple of days, and will continue to roll on until we have some kind of definitive answer or some kind of definitive plan put in place as to what we're doing. That's going to be on the forefront of a lot of people's minds. Will it be a rebuild? Will it be renovations? Or will it be a brand new stadium? I guess we're going to have to find out in that there one. It does look like Ineos perhaps are pivoting towards that new stadium, and that could be what they're looking at. But again, it's I feel like I say this exact phrase like 1,000 times to show that we're just gonna have to wait and see. But at the moment, we do have to wait and see how that develops with eager ears. Anyway, we do have some other stories as well that I want to go through. Let me just quickly skip on past here. Jesse Lingard has joined FC Seoul. It's a pretty disappointing end to his career anyway. Gareth Southgate is now considering calling up Kobbie Mainoo to the England squad, and Manchester United will travel to Nottingham Forest for the FA Cup fifth round is another one that is doing the round at the moment. So that's pretty much everyone caught up. If we have any thoughts, guys, do you want to get them into the comments? We'll go through them all. We'll talk about them as always, and yeah, look, we'll have a good old chat like we always do. But this Villa match is really important to me. I think if we're gonna have a stab at finishing top 5 or top 4, depending on what's gonna be those Champions League qualification places, we have to go and beat Aston Villa. At the moment, they're 8 points ahead of us, and that's not that's not ideal. A win puts us 5 points behind. Okay, 5 points. It's still quite a bit, but it's not as insurmountable. But the amount of matches we have coming up, the amount of difficult matches we have coming up, are really going to push and test this squad to the absolute limits. We play, of course, Aston Villa. Then we play Luton Town. We play Brentford. We play Bournemouth. We play Newcastle, City, Liverpool, Chelsea. I think I said Newcastle on that list. So we have a lot of big matches coming up. The next couple of weeks, I would say probably the next 7 weeks will be absolutely season defining for Manchester United. And we're trying to we're not in a position where Tottenham are, or where Aston Villa are, where they've got points on the board already. We have to look at prospective points. We have to beat the rivals. We have to beat Aston Villa. We have to beat Luton. We have to beat Fulham. We're going to have to go to the Etihad and try to get something. Everton at home will not be a pushover. Brentford away, that's going to be a difficult one. What else have we got? Chelsea away. Liverpool at home. These are very difficult matches if you're Manchester United. And the damage done already might be so much that we can't recover from it this season. And that's a real possibility at this point. Let me see. Bourne says we have to get a proper CEO like David Gill and save money. We give these McTuff. Yeah, look, I think we have a proper CEO now. I think we're going to have to find out how Barada's going to do in the long run. But I mean, it's good to have a sporting CEO appointment. I think that's really important for this club and what we're trying to do. going forward. It's genuinely the first CEO or um, executive vice chairman role that we've had that has gone to a sporting person, maybe since David Gill, for a very long time. So it's really important to us anyway now that we have that facility in place, that we have a guy there who's going to make these big calls in relation to Manchester United's future, Erik Ten Hag's future, the transfer future, what we're looking to do in terms of our running as a club, and that's going to be at the very, very top of the table. That's key. That's key. It's really important that your CEO's doing that. And the best thing as well is we have Brailsford and we have Blanc on the board of directors, even above the CEO himself, which is going to be absolutely key. And they're going to want the best interests of the footballing side of this club, and that's going to be pushed to the forefront of the agenda. So certainly, it does look like Ineos are getting their hands on this club. They're getting their hands dirty, and they're probably going to have to get them a lot dirtier until things are getting where they should be. And that's going to be a big one anyway. But look, let me see this table as well, just really briefly. So at this moment in time, um, Aston Villa are fourth place. They got 46 points. Spurs are in fifth place with 44. So we are 6 points off fifth place. We got to win the next match. If we beat Aston Villa, that's a good step. That's a really good step. We should have beat Tottenham Hotspur at Old Trafford. We didn't. That's a disappointment. But we are in a position where we can recover it. -1 goal difference isn't ideal, but certainly to me, I think if we go out and beat Aston Villa, they will drop points at some point this season. Tottenham Hotspur will drop points at some point this season. I think you got a cut off. I think City, Liverpool, and Arsenal are a league above, a cut above Villa and Spurs at this moment in time. We're trying to catch Villa and Spurs. Ideally, you want to be in the top of the league fighting for the championship, but that's not where we find ourselves. We find ourselves in sixth place. Despite that, we have come from 10th place only a couple of weeks ago. We have managed to win, the last 2 or 3 matches in the league anyway. So we got to keep this run going. And certainly look on these recent matches. We beat West Ham 3-0, beating Wolves 4-3. That's important. Dropping points to Tottenham, losing to Nottingham Forest over Christmas, losing to West Ham over Christmas. Those are the matches and the results that really are costing us at this moment in time. But it's recoverable. But we have to start recovering really quickly, and we have to start picking up points every single week. And if Erik Ten Hag has genuinely told these players that every match has to be treated as a cup final, then that's what he's going to have to do, and that's how we're going to have to approach it. Because losing 2 or 3 more matches between now and the end of the season, that means no European football next season. That means less money we can spend in the summer. That means we might not be able to attract all the players we want based on their own preference for playing in European football. Some players do want to play Champions League or nothing. That is literally what cost us the Frankie de Jong deal at a point as well. So it's so important that we manage to go out there, pick up as much points, finish as high up that league table as possible. It's a good thing for us if Man City or Arsenal go deep in the Champions League, because that gives us an extra coefficient. That means fifth place can be in the Champions League next season, and that's going to be something that we might need, because we might not get top 4. We genuinely might finish 5th. But to do that, we have to catch Villa or Tottenham. So no point in thinking too far ahead of ourselves. I think we've got to take things match by match. I think we've got to go Villa on Sunday. Then we have to go Luton. Then we have to go Fulham. We have to go Nottingham Forest. That's the way we have to look at this. It has to be one match after another one. The most important match is always going to be the next one. My only concern is with that is that if Erik Ten Hag gets himself in that mindset, is he going to under-rotate the team, cause injuries, and end up in a position where we end up losing matches because we don't have our first team available? It comes down to squad balance as well, squad depth, squad quality. It's just non-existent at times as well. Any more thoughts, guys? Make sure to drop them in down below into the comments. Don't think there's any matches on tonight anyway, so it's a pretty football-free Thursday. And yeah, look, any more thoughts? Make sure to let me know anyway. We've got 17 votes in that poll regarding the blue cards. 53% are saying they would be against it. 29% are saying they would be for it. 18% say wait and see. I've got Jordy in the comments. Good to see you, Jordy. Thanks for hopping on in here. And yeah, look, we were just kind of talking about top five finishes and hoping that United can get themselves in there. Yeah, it was a good win against West Ham at weekend. Very good for United. Really, we needed that. And yeah, look, it's. I'm sure you guys are feeling the squeeze as well. I know those injuries have really hit you guys hard as well. Where are you guys? Ninth at the minute. But I'm sure you guys will pick up some form anyway. I'm not too sure who you're playing next. You've got Forest away, Bournemouth, Arsenal. That's a difficult three match run there anyway. How are you feeling about that one? Do you feel? I feel like you can beat Forest. I feel like you might beat Bournemouth. I think 6 points would be a good result out of that. And then like going away to the Emirates will be very difficult. Jarl says very unsure. I read a few places UEFA has scratched the Swiss Champions League, and will be continuing with rules for the Champions League. So fourth and up is the only way to get in. I've seen that they're considering doing that. I haven't seen anything in relation to them officially making that call yet. I guess we're just gonna have to find out in that one. I mean, if it's top four finish, it might. I think maybe we're safer just going home at this point, because we'll end up like finishing in the Conference League and be playing Thursday nights, halfway around the world, and then having to come back and play on a Sunday. That's not really what we want either. I think genuinely from the FFP position, we need Champions League football. We need that at the very minimum. But I guess it's going to be an interesting couple of months. Let's just put it that way. It always is interesting. There's no such thing as a quiet week or a quiet month for Manchester United fans, because as soon as this is done, we'll be jumping right into an Ineos transfer window, and it's very unclear what that's going to look like. It's very interesting as to what that's going to be. But look, a lot of decisions have to be made between now and then. A lot of work has to be done between now and then, and it's just going to be a question of how we find ourselves in 6 months' time. Where do we find ourselves in August with the start of the 2024-2025 season? I guess the next couple of months are going to be important in setting up the transfer window. The transfer window is going to be important in setting up that August start for the Premier League. But that's what we have to be looking for. Born says, what the hell is wrong with Malacia, and why did Fernandez go after releasing Reguilon? Malacia, I don't know what's wrong with him, man. I really don't. He's been out for 205 days now. So whatever kind of a knee injury he's got, it's very serious, clearly. And I don't know, like, he does he end up retiring from this? I don't know. Because I mean, I don't get what happened to him either. Like, it's been a very, very, very much kept an absolute mystery at times as well. Jarl says we do need Europe. Not getting Europe would be an economic disaster. It would be. It would be really bad for us as a club, and we need that additional funding. When you look at the FFP, it's very tight. And if we don't get it, then Radcliffe's going to have to pump more money into the club. And it's whether or not he's going to be willing to do that, whether or not he's going to be allowed to do that from this point in time, I'm not too sure. So it's an interesting one to keep our eyes on. Guys, thanks very much for 14 likes, is it? I'm gonna have to drop off now anyway, but guys, thanks so much for watching. Only a quick stream today and at a much earlier time, so I do appreciate everyone showing up, really, really do. I will be live tomorrow at the normal time, 7 p.m. UK time. Looking forward to that one, of course. Bourne says winning the FA Cup is another route to Europa League, and Jarl says Malacia sadly had a setback like happened with Martinez. His injury. Page says it's an unknown. Yeah, I think that's the best place to leave it. It is kind of unknown at this moment in time. But look, guys, I'll catch everyone tomorrow. Have a good Thursday night. Have a good Friday tomorrow. And I'll see everyone 7 p.m. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Really do appreciate it.